Who's to blame for this loss in your eyes?
Well, that's a good question. So I asked Twitter what they thought. They're putting it mostly on Kyle. The choices were Kyle, O-line, Brock Purdy, Jake Moody. Most of them said Kyle, I think, and then Jake Moody, and then the O-line, and then Brock Purdy last. I think those are the four major factors on this one. I'm going to put Kyle above all of them because he's the head coach and it's his team. They didn't seem like they came out ready from the jump. I didn't like the game plan. Kyle is 1-9 versus Jim Schwartz. Maybe that was in his head. I don't know, but they're fighting before the game, not really dialed in, not focused. I didn't like the game plan. I didn't like some of the moves Kyle made. So I'm going to put it on Kyle first and foremost, but I think everybody on that list deserves some blame to this one. I don't know if you want to jump on those ones, but like Brock Purdy played bad. Like we got to be honest about it. Doesn't mean he's going to play bad moving forward, but he played bad. He didn't have a good game. I think he had a 55% rating. He was 12 for 27. He threw an interception. He had one touchdown. If you want to call it that, it's more like a running touchdown to me from CMC. It was like a little pitch forward, and CMC took it 13 yards. He didn't have a good game. He missed a lot of wide open guys. He threw 3 interceptable balls. The Cleveland's defense is very good, Grant. Like they're very good. A lot of quarterbacks have struggled against them. I ran the numbers on them. We can go over that if you want, but bottom line is Brock Purdy didn't play good. The interception that he threw, Brandon Ayuk was wide open. It wasn't the defense that caused that interception. It was an inaccurate pass from Brock Purdy. So he deserves some blame as well. Obviously, Jake Moody missed 2 field goals. He deserves blame for that, right? You got to make field goals. That's why you're here. You're in the NFL. You got to make those field goals to win the game in those situations. And the offensive line didn't look good. So it's all 4 of them deserve blame for this loss.
It's funny. If Moody had made one of those field goals that he missed, Niners win.
Yeah.
Especially if he makes that last one, it's kind of a gimme 41 yards. And it's funny is like, that wouldn't change anything about how Kyle Shanahan coached or Brock Purdy played. And yet, it would change how people would perceive it. People would say stuff like, hey, you know what? Brock Purdy wasn't great, but he was clutch. He did enough to win the game. And so did Kyle Shanahan. And you know what? That's all that matters. They're winners. And it's all based on what Jake Moody did. So in a sense, Jake Moody's very much to blame for this loss. You missed 2 field goals. And I mean, he just didn't look like he was ready. He looked like the pressure was getting to him. I mean, honestly, if you're looking at his face on the sideline, and you're thinking like Robbie Gould's still available.
Yeah.
They would have won this game if they had just had Robbie Gould. And they have $41 million in cap space. And it's like, why is Robbie not here again? I'm sorry. Like, I know you want Jake Moody to be better than him, but he's not. So Jake's won. And then, Brock Purdy, he didn't play well. You say Jake Moody missed a 41-yard field goal. Well, Brock Purdy missed Christian McCaffrey deep, wide open for a touchdown.
That would have been a W right there.
So how can we put it all on Jake Moody just because the timing of it? Brock Purdy had a 7-point mistake, and it was kind of a layup. So him too.
Yeah.
And then Kyle as well. Like Kyle, man, it's like Jim Schwartz was in his head, and he kept saying after the game, well, we expected a grimy game. Why?
Right.
Why would you say that to your players? Yeah, come on. So, all of them.
You're the best team in the NFL. And then, you brought up Moody. Why is Moody here? We got to watch DeJuan Jones hold his own against Nick Bosa, who was available when they drafted Jake Moody. That's who I wanted him to get. I tweeted out, draft DeJuan Jones, re-sign Robbie Gould. You do those 2 things, probably win this game today. So that falls on Kyle. Like, we can blame Moody, but the reason why Moody's here is because Kyle and John Lynch. Now, I'm not panicking, tripping, thinking the season's over, anything like that. But if we're talking about this specific game, why the 49ers lost, I think ultimately falls on Kyle for numerous reasons, the way he coached, but also just because Jake Moody, look, this is a Super Bowl caliber team, right? And that's what we kept hearing. It's a win now team. You don't head into the Super Bowl with a rookie kicker. You get the sure bet in Robbie Gould. That would have been a smart move. It was always a little suspect to me to rely on a rookie kicker because, maybe Jake Moody, this is one bad game. He's from that area, had a lot of family there. Maybe it was in his head. I don't know. But, maybe he bounces back. But if the postseason started tomorrow, what's your confidence level in Jake Moody being able to finish off a clutch game? It's got to be pretty low.
None.
Yeah.
And I think what's interesting is like, It always felt like a cute move to take Jake Moody in the 3rd round. Like, you don't need a kicker. You decided you don't want Robbie Gould anymore, who's really good.
Right.
And it's just so cute to like, okay, we're going to draft a kicker really high. We don't have that many needs. We're a great team, and we're going to win the Super Bowl with a rookie kicker. Meanwhile, they could have had DeJuan Jones. They could have actually addressed a real need, but they're like, we don't have any needs. We're great. Our offensive line is fine. We always work around our offensive line. It's great. We love Colton McKivitz. But their offensive line got exposed yesterday, big time. DeJuan Jones was on the field playing excellently against Nick Bosa for the Browns, and Jake Moody lost the game. So it all happened on one field in one spot. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, that one move of not signing Robbie Gould, drafting Jake Moody, and not drafting DeJuan Jones. They just did that. They win this game yesterday, I'm pretty sure, regardless of how poorly Brock Purdy played yesterday. They win this game if they do that. And so that falls on Kyle. Ultimately, it falls on Kyle. And for whatever reason, Jim Schwartz has Kyle's number, and he's got to figure that out. Or one of these NFC teams might hire Jim Schwartz in the future. And Cowboys hire Jim Schwartz. That's a problem.
Yeah, we're going to talk about actually why Jim Schwartz has Kyle Shanahan's number in a minute. It's a bonus topic. CJ Smooth says, can you imagine if this was a monsoon? Too soon? LOL, it was sprinkling. True. I saw a lot of people saying, hey, it was a wet ball. You can't really fault Purdy.
I wonder how many of those same people were not accepting that last year against Chicago. Curious about
Why
that.
didn't he put on like a Kenny Pickett glove? What's wrong with that? It would have helped. If you can't, I don't understand that. I feel like quarterbacks have too much pride sometimes.
Yeah.
Colin Kaepernick, remember that time he had that awful game in the snow in Chicago and he really couldn't throw the ball at all? It's like, dude, you can't throw the ball today. Put a glove on. Try something else. Or are you just going to go out there and miss throws all day because the glove looks stupid to you? I don't understand that.
Yeah,
Kenny
no
Pickett wears
sleeves. No sleeves. I remember Cap. It's like it's machismo. Yeah, no, get that.
A lot.
Yeah.
Rob Watson says Kylan Burford, 1A, 1B. Burford. 69er says, go get Robbie Gould. We are in our window. Sure. Robbie Gould sitting back being like, yep, it's going to cost you. Richard Clark, football is harder in the rain without the weapons. Purdy's first test was some adversity and he failed. Yeah, it's true. The whole team's first test with adversity. Zach Rivero, this game had equal blame in my opinion. Purdy couldn't get rhythm. Ayuk dropped key passes, and Moody did what we saw in the preseason. Need to shelf him this season. Can't afford to develop him right now. Yeah, they could say he's hurt. Back spasms. Put him on IR.
Can you imagine if we go to the playoffs, go to the Super Bowl, and it comes down to Jake Moody kicking a field goal, and he misses the damn field goal? Can you imagine? I don't want to imagine that.
No. Ezio Sanchez says Ayuk is great, but he had critical drops. Yeah, man. I mean, he'd be partially to blame too. He dropped I know some people say he only dropped one. The one he dropped was big, and he had a couple others that he got his hands on that he couldn't bring in. And it's like, all right, maybe that's not a drop, but if you're elite, you bring those, you catch those. They hit your hands, you catch it, man. You're elite.
I was pretty hard on BA yesterday. He definitely dropped the one that should have been a catch. PFF gave him one drop. The other two were very tough. I watched it a second time, and those other two were really tough. But yeah, I mean, if you want to be that elite guy, it's a contract year, man. Go out and make a play.
Keith Murphy, the unbeaten, says if his kicker's last name was Vinatieri, he'd be a gamer today. It's okay to win ugly. All right. Detail Media says Kyle can't lose confidence like with his last quarterbacks. I felt like he lost confidence yesterday. Let's see if he gets it back.